Hello and welcome, podcast listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx.
She's the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, a straight dog is nice. She's the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, New York.
Welcome to my weekly podcast, with new episodes airing every Monday. I hope to inspire you, coach you, sometimes make you laugh, and give you the push moment you need to start thinking differently about the decisions you make in your life. The topic of this podcast, episode 24, is the Fixer. Are you the one in the family that is always solving everybody's problems? Every time you want to say something, is it always the solution that somebody's been searching for? Do friends and relatives call you up to get the answers to their deepest, darkest problems? Do you feel compelled to fix everything? When you see a conflict, do you just want to run in and make it all better? Well, let's see what happens when the fixer realizes that they can't fix everything.
Everybody needs a little push. Everybody needs a little push. Everybody needs a little push. Everybody needs a little push.
Here's an email from one of my listeners. Dear Pushy Broad from the Bronx, my son is having issues at school with a teacher. I wanted to handle it, but we got into this huge discussion about him being 16 years old, and now he thinks he's old enough to handle it all on his own. I feel as his parents, I should go to that school and handle these issues with his teacher myself. What do you think I should do? Patrice from Montgomery, Alabama. Thanks very much for your letter, Patrice. I understand that when your child is having difficulties at school, it's a natural parental instinct to want to go in there and save the day. But unless you have received any kind of letter from the school or the principal or the teacher, then let your son handle his own affairs. You need at least to give him that independence first. Your job as a parent is to teach your child how to be independent and how to handle their confrontations, conflicts, and crises should they occur. Have him know that he can come to you at any time if he wants to discuss a strategy or if he wants to discuss what he's going to do about it, but do not interfere. He is 16. He is old enough. So let it be and let go. Here's another letter from one of my listeners.
Dear Pushy Broad from the Bronx, whenever my girlfriend starts explaining her problems to me, I immediately step in and give her a solution. That never seems to work. She's not looking for my solution. She's just looking to vent. I just want to make sure that her problem is solved. What's wrong with that? Mark from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Thank you so much for that email, Mark. Don't we all do that? Every time we see somebody hurting or they have a problem, we immediately try to get in there and solve it. Are you that person? Are you that fixer? Why do we do that? Well, there are lots of reasons. First of all, most of the fixers don't want to see other people be hurt. But more importantly, most fixers do not like it when things are not peaceful and calm. When things are a little agitated or things are a little stressful, we like to make things over, make them nice, kiss the boo-boo and make it go away. so that everything should be smiley faces and lollipops and roses all the time. Well, that's not realistic and it's not life. And sometimes, yes, sometimes we just want to vent. We don't want an answer for a variety of reasons. Some people like to just stay in their stuff. They don't want an answer. They feel comfortable in their misery. Other people want to figure out answers themselves. They don't want someone else to give them advice. So if you're a fixer, I need you to hold your breath until somebody says, "I want your advice," or "What do you think I should do now?" If none of those words come out of their mouth, then your best response, as always, should be, "I am sure that whatever you decide will be right for you." Memorize that. Here's another letter from one of my listeners. Dear Pushy Broad from the Bronx, I can't seem to listen to other people's problems without offering solutions. I try to fix problems for my friends, my family, and my children. I just want to make sure that everybody's happy and they're at peace. What's wrong with that? Danny from Kissimmee, Florida. Danny, there are a few things wrong with what that's all about. First, people have to solve their own problems. Unfortunately, if everybody would learn from everybody else's mistakes, maybe we would have less mistakes. But most of the time, people just learn from their own mistakes. They don't learn from the mistakes of others. So you can tell somebody a story and how things happen to you, but still, most people will have to walk a mile in those shoes before they decide what's right for them or not. So, the more you try to fix something, the more people will try very, very hard not to take your advice. Because basically, they don't want to hear it. Stop thinking that the world is going to be a much more peaceful place if you could just get in there and fix everybody else's problems. That never works. You need to let go and let everybody else live their own life, problems and all. What if you can solve the biggest problems in your life if you only knew how to think about them differently? Do you have trouble making decisions because you feel torn or paralyzed or simply afraid of making the wrong choice? Do you feel that maybe you could live a happier life, but you just don't know where to begin? Do you ever wonder why you have trouble connecting in relationships because you're always in conflict? If you could change the way you think about things, then your feelings and your actions would change as well. If you had the tools to change negative thoughts to positive thoughts, how different would your life be? How would thinking differently allow you to make healthy decisions, to energize your self-esteem, recharge your relationships, truly transform your life? My breakthrough program, Think Differently, Take Command of Your Life, will do just that. Learn more about it at pushybroadfromthebronx.com. One of the things I really love about being the Pushy Broad from the Bronx is to be able to give you quick answers to things with no BS. Here's my segment, No or Yes.
When you need a quick answer, no BS. Ask the Pushy Broad and she'll say no or yes.
Dear Pushy Broad from the Bronx, if someone is sharing their problems with me, doesn't that mean they want me to solve it for them?
The quick answer to that is absolutely not. I can't tell you how many times I sit around with fixers that turn around and say, well, if they wanted to continue to complain about something, I'm not that person. I'm not going to listen to their constant complaining. I think the reason they came to me is that they want a solution to the problem. Or else, why would they come? They came to you because they want to vent, because they just want a sounding board to get it out. I call it putting it up on the whiteboard. When you want to see things clearly, then you want to get it out of your system and out of your mind, and you want to put it up like on a whiteboard so that you can actually see it a lot better. Or maybe you want to write it down, Or maybe you want to share it with a friend, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're looking for an answer. Fixers don't understand that. Fixers just think that it is their mission in life to find the solution to someone else's problem. And most of all, fixers are really upset when you don't take their advice and you don't take their solution to the problem. So, fixers, this is something that you need to work on. And we'll talk about that a little more. One of the most amazing things that fixers can learn is not everybody thinks the same way you do. And for some of us, that could be a revelation. Just because you have an opinion about something that you may think is 100% correct and may think it is the exact solution to somebody else's problem does not mean that somebody thinks the same way you do. So, if somebody asks for your advice as the fixer, and you give them your best stuff, and that person doesn't take your advice, well, guess what? That's too bad. You cannot feel angry or resentful at the person who is not taking your advice. They don't exactly think the same way you do. And if they do, then maybe it takes them a little longer to come to that decision on their own. So there are lots of things going on in somebody else's head. So if you're a fixer that thinks that 1, 2, 3, you can solve everybody's problems, let me tell you that the work rests with you. Not everybody thinks the way you do, and people come to solutions in their own time. Let's take a look and see what happens when a fixer goes through their own 10 minutes of tears moment.
When you're feeling sad and kind of blue, rather lost and not really in it, don't stay angry, lost or confused. 10 minutes of tears is certainly for you. Please cry, but only for 10 minutes.
Dear Pushy Broad from the Bronx, I simply don't understand. I've offered so many ways in helping my sister to solve her problems, and yet she is not listening to anything I say. It makes me so frustrated and angry with her, because I know there are easy solutions that she is just ignoring. I don't understand why she isn't listening to me, and I'm about to give up on her. Jared from Bismarck, North Dakota.
Here we are, Jared, a perfect example of what I've been talking about. You are frustrated and angry with your sister because she's not listening to the solutions that you have given her for her problems. Do you see how that sounds? She's not taking your advice, and therefore you want to give up on her. Put yourself in her shoes. Let's say she tried to give you advice for a problem that she thinks she can solve, but it's your problem. Just because she gives you a solution doesn't mean that it's going to be the right solution for you. So, I need you to have patience here and understand that fixers cannot always fix somebody else's problems, even if you have the immediate right solution. There are so many things that go into play besides just giving someone the answer to what you think is going to solve their problem. But to give up on someone because they're not taking your advice, that's just egotistical and a little bit silly. People come to their own conclusions in their own time. And most of the time when someone has a problem, they just want to vent until the solution comes to them on their own, either by listening to enough people or doing their own research or making their own mistakes in the process. People learn on their own. Do not walk away from your sister, but work on yourself. Understand that you have to let go and let people make their own decisions. And as I said before, the most important thing that a fixer can learn is to say the words, "I am sure that you will make the right decision for you." that puts the responsibility of that decision back on the person trying to solve the problem.
We've all had a push moment, and the Pushy Broad from the Bronx wants to hear some of yours. If you'd like to share your most defining moments for her Everybody Needs a Little Push segment, or want to ask a question for her No or Yes segment, or maybe you want to share your 10 minutes of tears moment, you can email her at ellen@pushybroadfromthebronx.com. We love reading all of your comments, questions, and push moments. You can be a part of an amazing group of people and get more access to the Pushy Broad from the Bronx by becoming a part of her email list. If we air your question or comment on the Pushy Broad from the Bronx podcast, for privacy purposes, we will change your name to protect the innocent. Or the guilty. We don't know. We're not judging. If you aren't ready to share with her just yet, or if you want more Pushy Broad from the Bronx goodness, join her Facebook group. Follow her on Instagram and Twitter. Be sure to check out her website, pushybroadfromthebronx.com.
Here's my last segment. I'm talking here.
I'm talking here.
I'm talking here. Listen. Learn. Pay attention. I'm talking here. If you consider yourself a fixer, then maybe you're a natural caregiver. You know if you have this trait because people will often tell you their secrets just a few minutes after getting to know you. If someone has been in an accident or just broken up with their boyfriend, do you automatically give them a big hug and tell them that it's going to be okay and try to do what you can to immediately fix it? If you're a natural fixer or a natural caregiver, you must be really careful because you have to understand that helping other people can become addictive. And anything that's addictive is not a good thing. It can begin to feel like that's the only way you can show your love, is if you actually sacrifice yourself or prostrate yourself at the needs of others. For instance, if someone's hurting, you want to swoop in and save the day. If someone is broke, you want to go right in there and lend them some money. If someone is single, you have the urge to fix them up on a date. Whatever's hurting them, you want to fix. You need to understand that that kind of caregiving is not healthy for you, the fixer. So I want you to take a good look at yourself and decide whether you just want to get in there and tell people what to do, or you feel compelled to fix everything so that the world will be a more perfect place. Do not martyr yourself over and over again in order to meet some invisible quota of all the lives that you have helped and break some world record. Don't obsessively analyze how every choice you make may impact those around you based on how well you help someone. Remember, you are not responsible for the world's pain, but you're also not responsible for the world healing either. You are responsible only for your pain and for your healing. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, saying thanks for listening, and remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, New York.
Here is disclaimer information that we are required to produce.
Professional coaches provide an ongoing partnership designed to help clients produce fulfilling results in their personal and professional lives. Coaches help people improve their performances and enhance the quality of their lives. Coaching services received from certified life coach Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, are not offered as a substitute for professional mental health care or medical care, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any mental health or medical conditions. The Pushy Broad from the Bronx is not acting as a mental health counselor or a medical professional. All comments and ideas offered by Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, are solely for the purpose of aiding her audience in achieving their goals, and hopefully keep you smiling in the process.